and that is a sort of refinement of the information that I'm just getting from the contradictory class. And for this purpose, I want to consider a set G inside the discriminant locus inside of B. And I want it to be true that the inclusion B into B is a submanifold of real codimension 2. So actually, I'm now working in a broader context in which I will allow not just holomorphic families, but I'll possibly allow much more arbitrary families, where the family that I now have in mind is really specified just by giving an F and a G in that particular moduli space. If I have an F and a G, I identify delta as the locus where 4x cubed plus 27g squared vanishes. But because I'm not doing complex analytic geometry anymore, I don't even know that the dimensions of these things have even real dimensions. Certainly, F and G are complex numbers, therefore this is two real equations, so I can sort of expect real codimension 2. I don't know that B is a manifold. There are lots of things I'm not assuming at the moment. However, what I do want to assume is that B is a manifold in the neighborhood of B in such a way that B is a submanifold of real codimension 2. So, in that situation, there's a normal sphere bundle, so there is there's a Giessen bundle over D, which measures the normal information, and which is contained in the space D. And so I can look at pi 1 of this sphere bundle.
David?
Yeah?
When you say submanifold, you mean that D itself is a manifold near D?
Near D, that's correct. So I can take pi 1 of this sphere bundle, and of course we understand what it's doing, right? There can be interesting, so D itself can have like missing points, so there can be interesting loops in D, and then I have to lift those loops to the sphere bundle, and they might wrap around a little bit more. So pi 1 of the sphere bundle contains, of course, various pi 1 of punctured transverse disks. And I've already said that pi 1 of the punctured transverse disks will determine a cohomology class. In fact, a contradictory class in SL2Z, probably on the hidden board. But now I'm interested in one slight additional piece of information. So the point is that we're going to assume that pi 1 of the sphere bundle centralizes pi 1 of any of the punctured transverse disks. And then ask what can happen. Well, there are a number of cases on the table where there is a non-trivial centralizer. Of course, here I have the center of the space not in the same group, so I've got a non-trivial centralizer here. And if I take, maybe I'm going to put an extra column which I should have added, which is to take pi 1 of the sphere bundle mod pi 1 of the disk, and I'll just get a Z2 here, and similarly I'll get a Z2 here. It turns out that I don't get anything for either of these cases. I don't get anything other than what I've already written down in terms of a centralizer. The centralizer is already contained in the same group, right? So there's no quotient. But in this case and this case, I also get a Z2. So there's an additional choice, which is, does the sphere bundle equal the subgroup generated by pi 1 of the disk, or is it bigger? And in those two cases, I'm making a certain assignment of a Lie operator, and I'll explain more about this in a minute, making certain time that Lie algebra, the bigger algebra goes with the smaller group. So if I have the Z2, I get the symplectic group, otherwise the unitary group. Same thing for these other cases, like the E6F4 over there. There's one case where this yields no information, and that's the case where the monodromy action for the divisor, I shouldn't call it divisor, for the real codimension value D is actually -1 itself, which centralizes everything, so I don't get a lot of information out of this. And in that case, I have to make a different construction. So if pi1 of the disk corresponds to minus the identity, we look at the action on the points of order 2 in the nearby region. So I've got, if I restrict my local system to the sphere bundle, there's an action on that local system that gives, there's a whole SL2Z action that refers to the point. If I restrict to the SL2 of Z mod 2, then I have an interesting possible action. And so here we have a subgroup of S3, which is the permutation of those order 3 points. And there are 3 possibilities of subgroups of S3 up to conjugation. Well, sorry. I guess what I'm counting is the number of orbits. So if there are 3 distinct orbits, it's SO8. If there's 2 orbits, it's SO7. If there's just 1 orbit, it's G2. So I've used the topological information to define a Lie algebra associated to this situation. I haven't said where Lie algebra comes from. I just wanted to sort of explain it while it was on the table, that I'm going to be getting it from this description. And I also have not yet explained the middle column of the table. So there are 2 approaches to the Lie algebra. Thank you. There are 2 approaches to the Lie algebra. You have to deal with abbreviations if I'm writing big. So there's Tadayer's approach. So I haven't really mentioned the Tadayer classification, but hopefully it's familiar to many of you. If I look in complex codimension 1 on the base and look at a component now where things are actually complex spaces, so there should be some irreducible component of this discriminant with this delta. So that is the analytic category, so complex analytics. Tadayer explains that there is a particular kind of singularity which occurs. It's an ABE singularity transverse to that divisor, and the ABE singularities have resolution which can be sort of drawn in this way. So I've got my degenerate elliptic curve. I've got my degenerate elliptic curve which is somehow meeting someplace, and then I've got the resolution. In this case, I wrote down a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a D6 singularity. The resolution of the D6 singularity just to sort of illustrate what's going on. And as is quite well known, the set of -2 classes in this ABE singularity is a root lattice. So the Lie algebra that I want to identify is essentially that Lie algebra, except that there's this other possibility, and this other possibility which I've been describing topologically amounts to the question of does the resolution have monodromy, does the resolution graph, if you like, have monodromy along or around Z? So if I traverse a path within this divisor, and I should stay away from intersections with other components of delta to make sense of the Tadayer type being constant, it may be that in this case, these two components get identified. So fiber by fiber, I'm seeing the D6 graph, but I may well see only one global component of the resolution corresponding to these last two curves. So you can look at automorphisms of the Zinke diagram, which preserves the location of the intersection with the additional fiber that makes it into an affine diagram. And there are two cases, depending on some D2 equivalents. Or, in the particular case of D4, I've got 3 points, and I've got to worry about what the orbit structure on those 3 points was. So that's where the data comes from. And when you look and compare intersection theory between the divisor generated by the things flipped out on these curves with the curve, you discover a root lattice in which roots and co-roots are in different spaces, and therefore the intersection matrix between them does not have to be symmetric, and you can generate the entire ABE list, which actually does appear in the right-hand column of my big table. The other approach really was initiated in physics, work of Gabriel, DeWolf, and Seebach, and then more recently revisited again and linked to the algebraic geometry by Grassi, Halverson, and Jurgensen. And that's to imagine taking my particular element gamma representing a particular monodromy, so this gamma in SO2b, I want to write as a composite gamma 1 composed with gamma 2 up to gamma k of transformations which are all parabolic. So these are supposed to be parabolic determinant 1. Excuse me, parabolic, let me just say trace 2. These are supposed to all be trace 2 transformations. And in physics, the reason for that is that this first case, the trace 2 transformations, are the ones that are quite well understood in physics as related to what they call B7 breaks. So that was kind of the motivation for doing that. What Grassi, Halverson, and Jurgensen showed is that the manipulations that physicists have made of writing particular group elements as conjugates in this way amount to the following when applied in the complex analytic case. You take your Kadara family, y squared equals x cubed plus fx plus g, where f and g are now transverse to this divisor, and you deform slightly. So I can think of f and g, well, I'll just say deform slightly, deform f and g slightly. And if you do that, you can, actually it should be more than just case 2, it should be conjugate to 1, 1, 0, 1. So I don't want to multiply guys, I'll break them up as well. I can deform slightly and I can break this Kadara fiber into some kinds of nearby fibers, each of which has a particular monodromy. The monodromies are not all 1, 1, 0, 1. Those commute with each other. If that were the only story, then all conjugate classes would have had this form. Instead, they could be written in terms of rather specific elements called A, B, and C. That was what the physicists originally called them. So I remind you that SL2Z is generated by this matrix I've been focusing on, 1, 1, 0, 1, which is often called P, and a matrix that's often called S, which is an order 4 matrix. Okay? So the matrices A, B, and C, let me actually write them correctly. The matrices A, B, and C are A is P, B is S P to the minus 2, and C is P to the minus 2S. And all of them are conjugates to this trace. In fact, each of them has a particular boundary point. I mentioned that all of these parabolics have associated boundary points. So the boundary point here is 1, 0, solid in P1 cube. The boundary point here is minus 1, 1 in P1 cube, and the boundary point here is 1, 1. And the prescription that came from some analysis in physics is to rotate three junctions. Yeah, so what's my picture? The picture is that I had my original singularity, which was located at a particular point. Now I've had a small deformation so that I had a collection of other points whose combined monodromy is gamma, but the monodromy of the individual ones is some specific collective. I arrange them in some order in the disk, and having arranged them in some order, they're given by A's, B's, and C's according to this column on the table. That was the work that the Gabriel Wolf and Friedbach did a number of years ago. And you find three junctions with the property that the sum of the 3 points in P1 is equal to 0, right? So, and 3 junction means something like this. So, this is the problem, is studying all such 3 junctions, given this sort of combinatorial data, and it turns out to, again, reproduce the same Lie algebra information that a root lattice would, and have the same property about monodromy under something that centralizes the monodromy element that we're looking at. So we end up producing, in this way, another model for the Lie algebra. So the Lie algebra is being discussed because the application has a Lie algebra associated to it. Initially, you just have an SUN algebra associated to this, and then from the knowledge that that was an SUN algebra, you somehow are supposed to generate all of this other information about algebras, and this is how it is that they develop. So let me mention that the upshot of having my new trick for SO2Z. Oh, sorry, there's one other thing I want to say, which is there's this interesting issue of what's called a minimal Weierstrass model. Number theorists end up worrying about this a fair amount, and it shows up anytime you're doing a family of elliptic curves over some base. And the point is that if you're doing a family over a base, then you typically end up with an F and a G, and again an X and a Y, and you could modify that by, as we had before, U squared X, U cubed Y, U to the fourth F, and U to the fifth T, is a Rinsky localism. So, if you happen to be in a situation, say, over a base, in which F, which now is an element of the local ring of some open neighborhood of the base, has a 4th power factor, and G has a 6th power factor, then you might as well, even in the ring situation, have reduced F and G by those factors, and you produce something which does not change the behavior of the generic fiber, but changes the singularity of the special fiber. In fact, Kadara looked at this, and what Kadara found can be summarized by reminding you of the story for 2 familiar particular singularities. So if I have a singularity y squared equals x cubed plus p to the 6th, that's the simplest kind of simple elliptic singularity. The resolution of that singularity is an elliptic curve of self-intersection minus 1, meaning a rational curve of self-intersection minus 1. I know it's not consistent to using segments from the rational curve. And of course, what Kadara said is that you should go to the minimal model, and if you're looking at the minimal model of the surface, and look at the effect of that on the Weierstrass equation, the effect is to reduce f of g by the common factor. So the f of 0 here, the common factor was just the t, are reduced by the common factor, and I ended up with an elliptic curve with common section 0. That causes complications, headaches. If you're trying to study specific examples, you end up thinking that you have to learn how to factor all of your f and your g before you can ever determine what the monodromy and associated structures like the algebra is, and that just turns out not to be the case. So what's happening, I should do my second example as well. So in this case, I end up with a rational curve with a cut in self-intersection -1, and a non-singular rational curve with self-intersection -1. These, by the way, are the proper transform of the central fiber, and these are the exceptional divisors. And then that one blows down to a tough singularity, which is Kadari type 2. So you could get a non-singular curve, you could get one of the other Kadari types by this process. If I had to do the 12th, I would have to do it twice, and so on. What's happening here, if you apply the same philosophy that I had here of deforming the singularity a little bit, so I've got my monodromy potentially around that y squared equals x cubed plus t to the 6th point. I deform to a selection of singular points, and I can do a generic deformation, but there's an easy deformation in which I get two fibers of type I0 star. There are other possibilities. In fact, any collection of Kadari fibers which appears on a rational elliptic surface, as singular fibers of a rational elliptic surface, will appear in this deformation. It's not hard to show. In fact, it's one of the ways that we know about what those singular fibers are. It's not hard to show that all of those singular rational elliptic surfaces sort of show up there as nearby deformations. And such a thing, because it is a rational elliptic surface, definitely has overall monodromy 0. This is another way of explaining the kernel of the map from another way of explaining why, when I look at the map from the gray group now to my SL2Z, so what is happening here is that it's twice there's a particular gray group element which is mapping to 0 in SL2Z, and it's the gray group element which you would find by following, for example, this A4BC, that word in the group. That word turns out to be 0. That generates that, or any word coming from any rational elliptic surface generates the kernel of the map from B3 to SL2Z. So the fact that it's SL2Z also has this nice interpretation of explaining the meaning from the point of view of topology of this minimal Weierstrass model procedure, and we don't really need to go through it. We can directly read off from the monodromy information what the behavior of the ultimate Kadari fiber is. After all, if there had been something else in the middle, like this t to the 7th guy, I would have broken it up and then I would have found the Kadari fiber type 2 left over. In a case like that, the associated minimal surface, if you look transversely, wouldn't have been singular, so there wouldn't have been a gauge algebra. I've done the 3, I would have got the SC2, and so on. And so I can learn those things just strictly from the topology. So I'm just about out of time. The conclusion is that looking at the generations of elliptic curves from this point of view and exploiting that really interesting coincidence between the fundamental group of the topologist version of the moduli stat of elliptic curves and SL2Z itself, shouldn't really be a coincidence, but anyway, that seems to be a new observation. Lets us formulate the generating elliptic curves, including this interesting subtle structure that they get of associated Lie algebra, even in cases where there's no algebraic geometry around, where we just have the topology involved, and I will stop there. Yes?
How should I think about the anti-V7 brains, maybe in the A-model interpretation?
So this type 2D theory has these things called V7 brains, which are, if you're trying to preserve supersymmetry in the space-time theory, then you end up having to put the V7 brains in a holomorphic orientation. So the orientation is kind of fixed by which sub-algebra of the supersymmetry algebra you want to be preserving. And there's another choice which looks from the perspective of space, like an anti-holomorphic coordinate. So they don't look that different from physics except for deciding which sub-algebra of the supersymmetry algebra you're trying to preserve. However, if you have a theory with both of them in it at the same time, then all of the supersymmetry is broken. So locally near one, you see partly preserved supersymmetry, near the other, you see partly preserved supersymmetry, but the overall supersymmetry is broken. And which one we identify it with, a stack of n C7 grains will have a long term as 1 n 0 1, and if you reverse the orientation and sort of look at what that means, you end up with 1 minus n 0 1. So in contexts like the study of F theory up until now, where we've always utilized the holomorphic structure, we didn't really have the possibility of putting in the D7 bars. And on the other hand, there was this funny missing conjugacy class in the Kadaya table, and these two things are related to each other.
Is it just an anti-holomorphic?
Anti-holomorphic, but I want a family that has both D7s and anti-D7s. So then I want something which is holomorphic over here, anti-holomorphic over there, what is it, right? So I could certainly do anti-everything, and that would switch the 2s and the 2 stars and so on, right? Because I'm taking the inverse of all of the, minus 1, what am I doing? The inverse of all of the transformations.
Other questions?
I want to say something about extending Kadaya to higher dimensions.
So also interesting is the higher codimension behavior on the base, and I didn't really try to talk about that in this talk. That's actually part of the point of the Grasser-Hopkinson-Pennington work, is to take this description of Lie algebras and relate it to higher codimension phenomena that are known to be related to representations of that Lie algebra, but I left that out of the talk. I think I had enough to say. So I should have said at the beginning, it is time for us to thank the organizers.
In that case, you might want to be more specific and clarify that about 95% of the work was done by Tony.
Okay.